Okay, we're on Unit 15, the real estate market and analysis. This is actually one of the shortest, if not the shortest chapter in the book. Let's talk first about physical characteristics of real estate. Immobility of real estate, fixed location. You cannot move a lump of land. If you move it to somewhere else, what you've left behind is a lump of land, which is the same piece of land just with a bit of soil missing. So that's why we call it immobile or immobile. Fixed location. Land is also indestructible. I can pull away a lot of the land and I have a hole, but the hole is still real property. Therefore, it is there to stay forever. But the structures we put on it do have generally long lifespans, not forever, but they usually last 40, 50, 60, maybe 100 years. When you insure a lump of land and all of its improvements, the insurance will only cover the actual improvements generally. And each lot is unique, is different from the lot next to it by its location and so forth. So we call real estate is non-homogeneous. We talk here about the economic characteristics of real estate. The first is the government controls the influence the market through zoning, building codes, taxes, monetary policy. That can be at local level, state level, county level, and even federal level. So they both have direct and indirect influences. We have to understand the relationship between supply, demand, and price. And the market is slow to respond to change in supply and demand. It takes a long time when there's a shortage of housing units to go and build the new housing units. 3 or 4, 5, 6 months, 2 years for subdivisions. And also the market does depend very much on area preference. Location we call it. This officially is called situs. So what are the variables that influence the supply? That is the ability to produce new real estate buildings. First of all, we have to have the labor. If the labor is scarce, we have to import it, the price goes up. Construction loans and financing, they've got to be available. Banks have got to be willing to loan money to owner developers and so forth to build the new properties. Higher interest rates, higher prices. Land, we do need land. There's a lot of land in America, but there's not too much land on the islands. There's not too much land in certain areas where everybody wants to live. This can also be due to zoning. And materials, we have to have the materials to build the homes. A while back in the 80s there was a drywall shortage, and because of this prices skyrocketed because the homes weren't becoming available and prices went up. That is supply. On the other foot, we have the principle of supply and demand. So demand is the desire and the ability to purchase or rent goods and services. In other words, I need this and I'm prepared to pay for it. The less that there is out there, the more I'll be prepared to pay. And we're looking here very briefly at what influences demand. Well, first of all, the price of the local real estate, or the price of real estate in the local area, and the population numbers, the number of people, but also the size of the households. In Florida, we tend to have smaller households as people retire down here, so there's more propensity of smaller properties and condominiums. The numbers per household is decreasing. We're having less kids, so to speak, but we need more houses to house the same number of people. There's a graph there from 2010. We can see that the persons per household has gone down from 3.5 in 1940 to about 2.7, I think it is, in 2010. Also the income. The more money you earn, the better house you can buy. The availability of mortgage credit, which is influenced by the federal government, amongst other things, and change in interest rates. As interest rates go up, the monthly payments go up, less people can afford to buy. And consumer tastes. In other words, in the 70s, we liked to split level homes. Now we don't. We like green homes. We like big kitchens, no passageways, and large bathrooms or multiple bathrooms. 30 years ago, that didn't matter. So even though the homes that we have are very usable, they're not in the desired style that people want today. So we have to look at market conditions. When we say we have a buyer's market, that means there's a lot of homes out there for buyers to choose from. Therefore, the prices are going to go down as the sellers want to supply their homes to a limited number of buyers. Buyers get better prices in turn. But when the market is booming and there's not enough homes available, then the buyers are willing to pay more for the fewer homes that are out there. So the demand exceeds supply. This is a seller's market. Sellers able to sell for higher prices. When we want to look at the market conditions and understand what they're doing, interpreting market conditions, one of the things we look at are the market indicators such as price levels of new home sales, and the number of building permits will indicate what activity is going on out there to actually generate new homes. We also look at the vacancy rates of rental units, apartments and so forth, and we work out what the percentage of available rental units are that are not occupied. We also look at the sales volume in particular areas, zip codes, and generally the number of homes that have been sold in a particular price range in a particular period. One of the things we like to do is work out what is the actual occupancy rate of an apartment building, for instance. For example, if we've got 200 apartments that are rented in a 250 unit apartment complex, if we divide 250 into 200, that gives us 0.8, or 80% of the apartments are rented or occupied. On the other foot, we can say what percentage are vacant. If we look at an apartment complex of 300 units and we know that 225 are occupied, then we can see that 75% are vacant, and therefore if we divide the 75 divided by the total number of units, we get a 25% vacancy rate, which obviously gives a 75% occupancy rate. And that's basically all we have in that chapter. It was very short, so there's a few questions come from it. Read it through again, do the questions, and we will be done.